Now to a case the Target 12 investigators have been tracking for months. Another former Rhode Island lawmaker facing charges.
And it was first breaking at noon. Ray Gallison is accused of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from estates he was entrusted to manage, including one for a special needs client. He is the third former state politician to be slapped with criminal charges just in the last 2 weeks.
Target 12 investigator Tim White is here now with the new details he's uncovered.
The former chairman of the House Finance Committee has pledged to plead guilty to 9 federal felony counts. As part of the plea deal, Gallison will most certainly face prison time.
I'm kind of disturbed by that.
Once a powerful state representative, Ray Gallison is now charged in a federal fraud case. Charges range from ID theft, wire and mail fraud to filing false tax returns.
Mr. Gallison was essentially, as alleged, stealing from wherever he could. It didn't matter if the person was deceased. It didn't matter if it was public money that he needed to shift around to meet his purposes.
At the heart of the case, Gallison, an attorney, is accused of stealing $678,000 from the estate of a Barrington man, Ray Medley, who died in 2012. Federal investigators say Gallison liquidated Medley's assets, including stocks, for his personal gain.
Ray Gallison was greedy, pure and simple.
Investigators say Gallison also took $8,900 from a disabled person's trust to pay off an outstanding bill at a nonprofit he managed called Alternative Education Programming, or AEP. Gallison was a paid employee of AEP, which was funded almost entirely with tax dollars.
It is at least ironic, that someone who engages in this level of financial fraud is the House Finance Chair. I mean, if that isn't sending up alarm bells to folks, it ought to.
Gallison will serve at least 2 years in prison, but it could be more depending on what a judge decides. He was not at home when we paid a visit, and his attorney did not return our calls. Coming up new at 6, how investigators say Gallison lied to the IRS about his nonprofit and how much he owes the tax man. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, Eyewitness News.
Now, new details in a case the Target 12 investigators have been tracking for months.
Once the chairman of the powerful House Finance Committee, Ray Gallison, is now at the center of a federal fraud case, charged with 9 counts that he stole from his own clients and lied to the IRS about a taxpayer-funded nonprofit he ran.
He's the third former lawmaker to face charges in as many weeks, and we have in-depth coverage of the case. New at 6, Target 12 investigator Tim White joins us to explain more on how investigators say Gallison lied to the IRS and how much he owes Uncle Sam.
Ill-gotten gains are still considered income by the federal government, and court records show former state rep Ray Gallison may owe the IRS $226,000 in back taxes.
I'm kind of disturbed by that.
Former House Finance Chairman Ray Gallison, now a defendant in a federal fraud case.
Talk to my attorney, please.
The 64-year-old Bristol Democrat and attorney is accused of stealing from his own clients.
Hey, as I said, it is at least ironic, that someone who engages in this level of financial fraud is the House Finance Chair. I mean, if that isn't sending up alarm bells to folks, it ought to.
Investigators discovered Gallison's nonprofit called Alternative Educational Programming, or AEP, claimed in federal tax returns they helped 47 students by paying out $77,000 in scholarships.
In truth, over that time period, he paid on behalf of AEP only a little over $3,000 to assist 2 students, while paying over $64,000 to himself and another person involved with AEP in wages and consulting fees.
Gallison is also accused of stealing more than $677,000 from the estate of a Barrington man who died in 2012. Prosecutors say Gallison stole the man's identity and liquidated his stocks.
Ray Gallison was greedy, pure and simple.
He's also accused of looting a disabled person's estate. Gallison will be ordered to pay restitution. Don't expect any other charges. Nerona says this case is now closed. Gallison has pledged to plead guilty and faces at least 2 years in prison, but a judge could levy a heavier sentence. Gallison's attorney did not return our calls for comment. With the Target 12 investigators, Tim White, Eyewitness News.